So we're really excited to continue this conversation about the next generation as we turn to a fireside chat with somebody who's, he's one of my favorite people in the world. I call him a mentor and a friend. I've known Paul Willis for 2 decades. I obviously met him when I was 5, everyone. Right. But, he's somebody who, there's no one like him in the world. Paul Willis is the founding hog farmer of Niman Ranch, and again, a dear friend of Food Tank. Please give him a huge round of applause, everyone. Before we start, I saw some snack packs from Niman Ranch being passed around. I hope you were enjoying them. Give those a round of applause. So Paul, last month was the 30th anniversary of you first selling 30 pigs to Niman Ranch. And that pork ended up in places like San Francisco at Alice Waters Restaurant. And today you now have You work with more than 500 hog farmers, and you're producing around 300,000 pigs a year. It's an incredible story, and I'm hoping you can talk about, this anniversary and what it meant to you, and just the sort of pride you must have in all of that.
Well, thank you, Danny. I would like to kind of go back to the beginning, but what was happening in the 80s and 90s is that factory farming was moving in on us. And it didn't take me very long to know that, just go into one of those buildings one time to know I didn't want to raise livestock like that. Right. And I was raising pasture-raised hogs. I started with 1 sow and 5 pigs and built up to a system on my farm where I was raising about 2,500 pigs a year. And frankly, they were saying, get bigger, get out. Right. And I started thinking, after I saw a woman buy an organic chicken in a grocery store, and why? Because she liked the way it was raised. Yeah. Anyway, started looking around to find somebody that would buy whole pigs. I knew people that wanted to buy a pork chop or that kind of thing, but I'm not selling pork chops. I'm selling entire animals. So ultimately, it led me up to Bill Niman, and he was in San Francisco, and I knew it was important to identify a market, and San Francisco had an early food culture. Right. I could try this in Iowa, it wouldn't have worked. Sure. So Bill and I worked together. I sent some samples to San Francisco, and the people loved the quality, the eating quality of what I was doing, and said, send me 30 pigs, and that was February of '95. The first time I found a packing plant that would do the custom processing for me, taught me how the whole system worked. I'd raised a lot of pigs before that, and once I left my farm, I had no idea just what happened, where it went, and so forth. Yeah. So anyway, that was a unique, a new experience for me to sell something, to know where it was going, and ultimately I had the opportunity to go to a restaurant the first time, and they're serving something that came from my farm. Yeah. It was exciting.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And it's such a different, you mentioned, this didn't happen in Iowa at that time. It's happening now. They're serving, there are great restaurants in Iowa that are serving Niman products. But it's such a different way of eating for sure, but it was such a different way of you to produce this pork and produce it in a way that you felt good about, right? It was such a paradigm shift for Iowa in a lot of ways.
Yes, I mean, the way I was raising pigs was common, over 50 years ago, but people as factory farming started moving in, people were quitting that style of raising pigs. Yeah. But anyway, we started the market for free-range pigs, I guess.
And letting them perform their natural behaviors and their natural pigginess.
And I wanted to differentiate myself as far from possible from the commodity world. I wanted animal welfare certification. I wanted a fair price for the farmers. Right. And I wanted to continue raising, this way and make sure that it was better for the animals and better for the farmers.
Absolutely, and better for the land in so many ways. I know one thing that's important to you is really cultivating that next generation of farmers who are raising hogs. And I've heard, and Food Tank has published so many stories about these young farmers. Can you talk about why that's so important to you?
Well, the future of agriculture is in the younger people. People like me are not the future of agriculture. We're observers of what happened in the past. So our farmers, the young people from the kids, I might say, the young people from our farms, it was important that we try to do something to assure them that they would have an opportunity to return to the farm.
Right.
Of course, one important thing is to pay farmers a fair price for what they were doing. But we set up a scholarship fund, and at this point, I mean, the first year we sent out a few $100s.
Right.
But we've now given over $1.5 million in the scholarship fund to our kids.
It's amazing.
And we've had some big contributors like Chipotle, Butcher Box, Shake Shack,
Right.
and just people have contributed to the scholarship fund. And so the average age of a farmer in the United States is around 60 years old, and our farmers average 47.
Great.
So it's evidence that it's working. And anyway, they're going to be the future.
Absolutely, and the ability to give them that opportunity to either stay on the farm or come back to the farm is really special. The last thing I want to chat with you about is the flack, the criticism you got from sort of working with Purdue, the acquisition that happened in 2015. And what I have discovered, and knowing you and knowing the folks at Purdue for a long time now, is that in a million different ways, Niman has helped Purdue change their mindset around the way that they raise animals. And I wonder from you, why does this partnership with them work?
Well, I knew it was kind of inevitable that as Niman grew, by the way, Niman is 500 hog farmers and 600 farmers, including beef and lamb. Mm-hmm. But anyway, as a company that had grown and had a national brand by this time, we knew this was inevitable, and there were probably a number of options of who was going to, step in and do this. And I didn't know at the time that Purdue was a family-owned business.
Right.
It's not a publicly traded company, but it's a company that has some aspirations of long-term planning, and it's not a one-year plan. It could be a 5 or 10 or even a 50-year plan. Mm-hmm. And also, I knew that if you wanted to change the way America eats, you had to have some big players.
Right.
And so I've gotten to know the family, and we've, they've learned how we do things.
Sure.
Animal welfare has become a higher, point of reference for Purdue as well.
Sure.
And they have farmer councils now. They didn't have that before, which I had. I had my farmer advisory council. So it's been a great partnership, and they also own the processing plant where we process the hogs, and have put a lot of resources into updating the plan and things like this.
Right.
And so it's been a great partnership.
Yeah, and I've seen it unfold, and I can vouch for it. And I was one of the first people to sort of criticize it, and I'm so happy to see that I was wrong.
And I wanted to stay on with Niman Ranch, and I saw some different ownerships, to try to be there to make sure we stuck with the integrity.
Absolutely, and you've been able to do that. What advice do you have for other companies who are in the same situation you were about 10 years ago and are thinking about being acquired and thinking about having these different partnerships?
Well, I mean, to begin with, whatever it is you're going to do, you have to identify your market. Like I said, if we had tried to do this initially in Iowa, it wouldn't have worked. Mm-hmm. That's an important thing right off from the start to try to assure success. All the parties involved have to be compensated or,
right.
Make it worthwhile, and stick to your values. all of these things are important.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been ending all of these conversations with a call to action to the audience. Do you have a call to action to the eaters that are sitting here and learning about all this stuff?
Well, I've heard it said on the other panels, know where your food comes from. It's not a slogan that wears out.
Right.
It's still true, and if you don't know a farmer personally, Organic Valley or Niman Ranch, you know that they have the credentials and the background, and you know that they're supporting their farmers, and it's the same thing true with I'm sure many of the products here.
Yeah, look for those brands you believe in and the people behind them.
Yeah, try to learn about what they're about.
Absolutely. Paul, you're one of my favorite people in the world. Thank you for being here. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks. I love Paul Willis. Is it clear that I love him? Okay.